It's been 4 years since that night we sat on our janky homemade motorcycle, staring out at Philly's lights twinkling down below the hill, promising each other we'd fix every damn thing we broke. 4 years is long enough for old wounds to fade into scars. Long enough for us to stop calling each other savior and just settle into boyfriend. I'm 24 now, in my 3rd year of a PhD in applied math at Penn. My dissertation's on machine learning models for predicting extreme weather, building on that freshman project I did with Professor Miller back in the day. I'm not the kid hiding in the back of the lecture hall anymore. These days I'm the one up front, running seminars, arguing with professors at conferences, even co-authoring papers that actually get cited. Social anxiety's still there, like a quiet ghost in the corner, but I've learned to live with it. Deep breaths, over-prepare, and sometimes just let myself shake a little before I step into the spotlight. My students joke that Mr. Lucas always looks calm as hell, like he's solving differential equations in his sleep. They have no idea how many times I've practiced that cool look in the mirror. Nick's changed in ways that still catch me off guard sometimes. After that rough patch when we took a break our freshman year, Nick didn't just come back to me, he came back to himself, only better. He finished his advanced auto tech certification, then shop management, then a full program in vintage car restoration. Now he's the shop manager at a badass classic car restoration garage in Fishtown, where 60s Mustangs and Porsche 350 SIXS get brought back to life. It's not just turning wrenches anymore. Nick reads blueprints, negotiates with loaded clients, runs the crew, even lands features in local car mags with that confident grin and hands still marked by old scars. But what I love most is how quietly he's upgraded himself so he never feels like he's lagging behind me. I remember those nights he'd sit at the kitchen table with a stack of books. Classic Car Restorer's Handbook, Effective Communication for the Technical Professions, even How to Win Friends and Influence People. He'd hide the cover because he was embarrassed. One time I caught him listening to the audiobook of Sapiens by Yuval Noah Harari on his commute, earbuds in deep so no one would know. He told me straight up, "I don't want to stand next to you at those science parties just nodding like an idiot. I want to get what you're talking about, want to talk to your friends." And damn, he did it. Now when I bring him to department mixers, he's not hiding in the corner nursing a drink. Nick can chat with professors about how machine learning helps diagnose engines, or crack jokes with the grad students about predicting the weather better than my boyfriend's moods. People love him. The realness, that husky laugh, the way he always rests his hand on my lower back like he's saying, "We're in this together." We still live in apartment 404, but it's fully renovated now. New hardwood floors Nick laid himself, an open kitchen with a little island, and a big work corner for me packed with monitors and books. Every night we cook together, he handles the grilling, I do salads and time everything perfectly. Our life's like a blueprint we redrew from scratch. Clean, balanced, beautiful in our own way. One early winter afternoon, I got home early after defending my dissertation proposal. Nick had texted he'd be late supervising a '63 Corvette restoration for a big client. I walked in to the smell of fresh varnish and coffee. He'd brewed a pot before heading out. On the kitchen table was a thick brown envelope addressed to both of us. Classic Motors Association Annual Gala Invitation. I smiled. It was the invite to the Vintage Car Association's yearly gala that Nick's part of. This year it's in New York, and they're asking him to give a short talk on that hot Corvette project. Tucked under it was a little handwritten card from Nick. Tickets for both of us. Come with me? I want to show off the smartest guy in the room. I held that card and felt this warmth spread through me. We'd come so far, from 2 scared kids running from our past to 2 grown men who could stand tall beside each other anywhere. But I had no idea that just a few weeks later, a different kind of blueprint, not a car, not an equation, would show up from the past, forcing us both to face the parts we hadn't fully fixed yet. One biting cold January morning in Philly, wind off the Delaware rattling our apartment windows, I was at the dining table with my laptop full of forecast graphs and a cold coffee when Nick came in from the balcony, phone still to his ear. His face was pale, not from the cold. I paused my music and waited. He ended the call without a goodbye, just "I'll think about it," and hung up. He stood there staring at the light snow on the street below, then came over and sat across from me. "My uncle died," Nick said, flat like he was reading the weather. "Last night, county hospital. Liver cancer." I reached for his hand. His fingers were ice. "You okay, babe?" He gave a bitter laugh. No humor in it. How could I be? I hated him, Lucas. Hated him so much I thought I'd feel good hearing this. But now, it's just empty. He kept going, voice dropping. The county lawyer called. Since Nick's the only family left, parents long gone, no other relatives, everything goes to him. The house, the bank account, basically nothing. And the old auto shop on the edge of town, the garage where Nick started working at 13, where he'd get wrenches thrown at him, called worthless trash, kicked out if he messed up. The place is drowning in debt, Nick said. Bank, suppliers, taxes. If nobody claims it, they'll seize and auction. Lawyer gave me 30 days. Accept or walk away. I stayed quiet, letting him talk. I knew that shop wasn't just rust and cracked concrete. It was Nick's childhood prison, where the monster kept him locked up. He looked at me, eyes red but dry. I want to walk away, burn the damn thing down. But if I do, I'm still that scared kid running. If I go back, even just to shut it for good, at least I'd end it myself. I squeezed his hand harder. Whatever you want, I'm with you. He shook his head fast. No, Lucas, you don't need to go back to that shitty town, where Kyle's still around, where people would look at you like that crying glasses kid again. I'm not that kid anymore. I cut in, firmer than I expected. And you're not the kid who got beat down. We've come too far, Nick. We go back for you. For us. He stared at me a long time. Then he nodded, slow. 3 days later, we were in Nick's old pickup. He kept it even after getting something newer. Driving the 5 hours back to the small town we'd fled 4 years ago. Mostly quiet drive. I held his hand on the gear shift, feeling him grip tighter every time a highway sign pointed home. The town hadn't changed much. Same boring main street, old grocery, faded high school football field. We went straight to the edge, where the shop sat isolated on a dirt road. Rusty Gate still had the sign Harlan and Son Auto Repair, though there was never a real son treated like one. Inside, dusty old cars, tools scattered, that stale diesel smell hitting like an unwanted memory. Nick killed the engine and sat there forever. I saw his shoulders tremble. I thought I'd be scared, he whispered. But now I'm just pissed. Pissed he died without ever saying sorry. Pissed he's still taking up space in my head. I got out, breathed the cold air, walked around and opened his door, held out my hand. Then let's go in, I said. Close this place together once and for all. Or, if you want, we turn it into something that's yours, not his. He looked at my hand, took it. We walked through the gate together. 2 men who'd once run from here now walking back, not to escape but to face it. The wind rattled the tin roof like a final call from the past. But this time, Nick didn't let go of my hand. The old garage door screeched as Nick pushed it open, rusty metal groaning like a long sigh from yesterday. Dim light filtered through dusty windows, making the floating dust look like scattered memories. Nick stepped in first, me right behind. The smell, old diesel, grease, rust, hit hard. I'd only caught whiffs back then, but for Nick it was his whole childhood. He stopped in the middle of the cracked concrete floor, looking around. The old hydraulic lift in the corner, half disassembled wrecks. Tools everywhere. On the wall, faded chalk sign. Mess up, pay for it. I saw his shoulders tense. Then he walked to the old workbench, where his uncle used to sit with a beer, ready to unleash hell. Nick? I said softly. He didn't answer right away. His hand touched the scarred tabletop, fingers shaking. Then his breathing turned fast, shallow. He gripped the edge, head down, sweating in the freezing cold. Babe, I stepped close, hand on his back. I hear him, Nick whispered, voice breaking. He's yelling. What the hell are you doing, you piece of trash? Hand me that wrench or I'll throw it at your face. He clutched his head, sank to the floor, back against the bench. This wasn't my Nick, the confident guy presenting to rich clients in Fishtown. the one who could rebuild complex engines blindfolded. This was the scared teenager curled up in this corner, helpless. I knelt in front of him, calm. I'd prepared for this the moment I agreed to come. During my PhD, I'd taken electives in cognitive psych and trauma care, not to be a therapist, but to better understand what we'd both survived. And I wasn't that timid kid who could only watch anymore. I took both his hands, placed them on my thighs. "Nick, look at me." He lifted his head, eyes red, breathing ragged. "Breathe with me," I said gently but firm. "In for 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold for 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Out for 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We did it 3 times. Slowly his breathing evened out. Shoulders relaxed a bit. "Where are you right now?" I asked. He looked around like waking up. "In the old garage." "With who?" "With you." "Exactly. You're 24, manager of a classic restoration shop in Philadelphia. You've got certifications, a crew that respects you, clients lining up for your work on 6-figure cars. You're not free labor anymore. You're the owner on paper legally." Nick took another deep breath on his own. He looked at his hands, calloused but clean, not black with old grease. I stood, offered my hand. He took it, stood with me. We started walking around. This time Nick saw it differently. "Look at that lift," he said, voice steadier. "Hydraulics are old, leaking everywhere. Fix it right, it's still solid. And that diagnostic machine, 90s model, but update the software and it'll read most classics." He went to a dusty Ford pickup frame in the corner. "This truck? He bought it to strip for parts. Never finished. Frame's still good, original V8. Restore it proper. Could sell for decent money." I smiled. Nick wasn't the grease monkey anymore. He was the expert. He saw potential, value, a new blueprint in the junk. "What do you want to do with this place?" I asked. He turned to me, eyes lighting up for the first time since we arrived. "Not sure yet. Maybe sell to cover debts. Or redo it. Turn it into a second restoration shop. Not to honor him, to prove I can do it 100 times better." I nodded. "Whatever you choose, I've got you." He stepped close, wrapped me in a tight hug right there in his old hell. This time he didn't shake. He stood tall, chin up. The grease monkey ghost was still lurking in the shadows. But now it was just a ghost. And Nick, the man holding me, was way stronger. We ended up staying in town a whole month. Not the few days we'd planned. It happened naturally after a 3 a.m. talk in our cheap motel room when Nick couldn't sleep. "I don't want to dump it cheap," he said, voice rough. "If it goes to some sleazy developer, it'll just become another place that exploits kids. I don't want that cycle repeating." I turned to him in the dark. "So what do you want?" Long pause. "I want to fix it up. Not to keep it, but to prove I can do better than he ever did. Then sell it right, or maybe donate it to the town as a free trade school. I need a month." I smiled in the dark. "A month it is." Next morning Nick met the lawyer, extended the inheritance deadline. He pulled from our house savings to cover urgent debts and buy basic supplies. I called my advisor, took a month's research leave for family matters. He understood, no questions. Work started that week. Nick hired 5 local troubled kids. Guys just like he used to be. Dropped out, hanging around the old football field, hoodies torn, eyes full of defiance and walls. Jake, Corey, Miguel, Darnell, Tyler, 16 to 19, parents addicted or jailed or just absent. First day they clustered outside the gate, smoking, eyeing Nick suspiciously when he called them in. Daily pay, Nick said straight. Not huge, but enough for food and gas. Do good bonus. Screw up. I show you how to do it right, no yelling, no throwing tools. Don't want it, walk. No hard feelings. They looked at each other, shrugged, came in. Curiosity or cash. Didn't matter. I watched Nick transform day by day. He taught them proper tire removal, checking oil without making a mess, reading basic engine schematics. When Corey dropped a wrench in oil, Nick didn't snap, just wiped it, handed a new one. Happens to everyone first time. Grip tighter next round. When Miguel over-tightened and stripped a spark plug, Nick didn't call him useless. Okay, new plug's $8. I'll dock it this week, but I'll show you a torque wrench so it doesn't happen again. Deal? Miguel nodded, eyes bright for the first time. I handled admin, payroll, ordering parts, sorting debt paperwork. When free, I'd sit in the corner reading or working on my laptop, glancing up as Nick patiently guided the kids. Steady voice, never raising it, always got it, instead of insults. One afternoon I overheard him with Tyler, the angriest one. I was you. Mess up and get hit called trash. I hated this place because of it. I'm back so no other kid has to go through that. Tyler didn't reply, just nodded and worked more carefully. By week 3 the garage looked different. Floors swept, tools organized, lift patched to work, break area with old chairs and a thrift store coffee maker. We painted walls light gray, hung a temp sign. Nick's crew restoration in progress. The kids started joking around, calling Nick boss. Corey asked about classics, eyes wide when Nick talked about his Philly Corvette. Darnell quietly asked me about night GED classes. One late night after the kids left, Nick and I sat on tool chests with cold beers from the corner store. You see it? Nick said, voice tired and rough. I used to think strong meant making people scared, yelling, threatening, hiding any weakness. But real strength is being kind without worrying it'll make you look soft. I leaned my head on his shoulder. You've leveled up for real, Nick. Not just certs or skills. Right here. I put my hand over his heart. He gave a soft laugh, no bitterness this time. I'm making it right, Lucas. Not for him, he doesn't deserve it. For the kid I was, and for these boys. So they know someone's betting on them being better. A month flew by. The garage was clean, functional, even getting local walk-ins for small fixes. Nick decided not to sell to outsiders. He talked to town council. Turn it into a free vocational center for at-risk youth, with priority for his current crew to work part-time and train officially. Last day we stood outside the gate with the kids. Jake, the quietest, handed Nick a handmade gift. A carved wooden sign. Nick's garage second chances start here. Nick took it, eyes wet but grinning wide. He hugged each kid, told them to stay in touch. As we drove out of town again, that sign tied secure in the truck bed. Nick glanced at it in the rear view, then gripped my hand on the gear shift. This time we're not running, he said. We're going home. I squeezed back. We turned his old hell into hope. And Nick, the man beside me, proved redemption isn't erasing the past. It's using it to build something better. That's real pride. The grand opening for the new vocational center happened on a late February Saturday afternoon. Snow mostly melted. Early spring sun filtering through bare trees along the main road. They called it the ribbon cutting for the future neighborhood. Bit grand for a small town. But the council wanted buzz for funding. Really just a gathering out front of the freshly painted garage. New official sign. Nick's Second Chance Garage Vocational Training Center. About 100 people showed. Stiff-suited county officials, Mrs. Morrison, the old neighbor who'd sometimes brought Nick food as a kid, the Nick's crew boys in crisp new uniforms, their parents, and a lot of familiar high school faces. I stood next to Nick, fingers laced under our coats. I wore a button-up and turtleneck. Classic nerd look that would have gotten mocked here back then. Nick had on a black button-down, clean leather jacket, hair neat, looking strong and sharp. We didn't hide holding hands. No need anymore. When we stepped out of the truck, whispers started immediately. Kyle was there, still big, now in county sheriff uniform with Jake and Mike, old football buddies. They stared at Nick, mouths open. I caught bits. That's really Nick? Holy shit, the grease monkey now, and the glasses kid. He looks totally different. Nick met their eyes, gave a casual nod like normal greeting, then led me to the makeshift stage. His boys? Jake, Corey, Miguel, Darnell, Tyler, stood proud in logo tees, waving and yelling boss, making people chuckle. Ceremony was simple. Council president thanked everyone, cut the ribbon. Applause. Then Nick's short speech. He'd prepped, but I felt his nerves in the tighter grip. He stepped to the mic, stood tall, scanned the crowd. Silence fell. I'm not big on speeches, he started, voice gravelly but clear over the speakers. A lot of you knew me growing up. Knew I was raised in this garage. Called dumb grease monkey. Worthless trash. Some called worse. Awkward murmurs. Kyle looked at the ground. I believed it, Nick went on. Believed I was only good for dirty work. Getting yelled at. Looked down on. But today I'm here to say one thing. Nobody's worthless trash. Not one kid. Not one lost young person. He paused, looked at his crew. Those boys, Jake, Corey, Miguel, Darnell, Tyler, they're like I was. They just need someone to believe they can do better. A place to learn a trade, stand tall, be proud of their hands. This place will be that. Free, open to anyone needing a second chance. Applause started hesitant, grew strong. Mrs. Morrison wiped tears. Parents nodded gratefully. Nick looked straight at Kyle and the old crew. I didn't come back to show off. I came back to rip off the labels people, and I stuck on myself. I'm a classic restoration shop manager in Philadelphia now. I've got certifications, a team, a boyfriend I'm proud to stand beside. He glanced at me, soft smile. And I know my worth isn't in old insults. Real applause now. Even some old buddies clapped. Awkward but genuine. Nick rapped quick. Thanks for coming. Come in for coffee. Check out the new shop. He stepped down. I grabbed his hand instantly. We walked through the crowd. No sneers this time. People shook his hand, patted his back, said proud of you, Nick. Kyle hung back, then came over, offered his hand. Good job, man. For real. Nick shook it, nodded. Thanks. We didn't stay long. After photos with the kids and officials, we said goodbye and headed back to Philly that afternoon. On the highway, Nick was quiet a while, then turned to me. You know, back then the scariest thing was standing in front of that crowd. Afraid they'd see me like before. But today, I stood tall for real. I smiled, hand on his thigh. You've always stood tall, Nick. Now everyone else sees it too. He laughed softly, moved my hand to the gear shift like old times. The dumb grease monkey label was officially gone, torn off by Nick himself. And he'd replaced it with something new. The guy who hands out second chances. As we left town for good, late sunlight poured through the windshield, lighting everything up. This time we weren't just heading home. We were heading into the future, no ghost strong enough to drag us back. We left town on a gentle late winter afternoon, pale golden sun slanting through the old pickup's windshield. The "You are now leaving" sign slid past the window, and neither of us looked back. No running this time, just relief, like finally setting down a heavy pack we'd carried for years. Nick drove, one hand on the wheel, the other locked with mine on the gear shift, habit from our escape days, now pure instinct. Radio played one of his old country songs, low enough to fill the easy quiet between us. After a while he spoke first. What do you think about starting a little fund? I turned. What kind? Career support for kids like the ones back there. Orphans, neglected, struggling families. Cover trade school tuition, basic tools, paid internships at my Philly shop. Nothing huge, just enough to give a few kids a year a real second shot. I smiled. Not surprised, this was the natural next step after the past month. Love it, I said. Call it the Second Chance Fund. I'll handle legal setup and university donations. You do shop connections. We run it together. He nodded, eyes on the road but mouth curving up. Yeah. I don't want it to stop at that garage. Want it to spread. So more than 5 kids know they're not trash. We let the idea settle. Then I said softly, you know, when we first got together I thought our love was like 2 chaotic trajectories. Crashing into each other over and over, dependent to survive, terrified of drifting apart. He glanced over, curious. But now, I went on, it's more like 2 upward curves. Not intersecting constantly out of need. Parallel growth. Each strong on its own, meeting at higher and higher points. Solid because we're both standing on our own. Nick chuckled low, squeezed my hand. Such a nerd. Comparing love to math again. But it's true, I laughed. We're not bully and victim anymore. Not protector and protected. We're Nick and Lucas. Two grown men with scars and history, choosing each other every day because we want to, not because we have to. He went quiet a long time, then slowed, pulled off at a scenic overlook with fields stretching out. He killed the engine, turned fully to me. Sunlight hit his eyes, turning them that warm brown I fell for way back in the old library. Lucas, he said, voice thick. I used to think I'd never be good enough for you. You were the college boy, smart, bright future, and I was just the dirty mechanic with a trash past. I was scared you'd wake up one day and leave. I started to speak, but he stopped me. But now I get it. It's not money or degrees or the Fishtown shop that makes me worthy. It's standing tall in a crowd without fists or armor. It's being kind to people who have less without fearing it'll make me weak. It's making amends, building instead of breaking. It's becoming a man I'm proud of. And that man deserves to stand next to you. Tears rolled down my face before I could stop them. I leaned over, kissed him. Not the wild, desperate kiss from the hill years ago, but slow, deep, full of gratitude. When we pulled apart, foreheads still touching, he whispered, "Thank you for never giving up on me." "Thank you for never giving up on yourself," I whispered back. We drove on toward Philadelphia as dusk fell, sky turning orange and purple. Far off, the city skyline started twinkling. Our love wasn't a chaotic equation needing rescue anymore. It had become a beautiful theorem. Two independent curves rising together, intersecting at ever higher points. Strong, lasting, full of hope. And we knew, no matter how many variables the future threw, we'd always find each other at those intersections. Because now we didn't just love each other. We were damn proud of each other.